Welcome into an all-new betting preview for this week's Zurich Classic. I'm Rick Gaiman, that right there, Andy Lack. Hello, Andy. There's two of us, and there's two of everybody on a team this week.
Yeah, good morning, man. I always like a change of pace. This is an event that feels like I don't really know what its place is in the future of the PGA Tour. And we always ask for, hey, switch it up. But it always feels like when we get to this weekend, we actually do switch it up. Then people are like, oh, I miss what we do every single week. So I'm mixed on it, but I still think there's absolutely an opportunity to make money. I hit the winner here last year, and the money is still the same for every single event on the PGA Tour. So I'm excited to break it down.
Yeah, I think in theory, it's really cool when your teams are Patrick Cantlay, Xander Schauffele, Colin Morikawa, Max Homa. And then you scroll down just a little bit further and it's, JJ Spawn, Hayden Buckley. And, I like those guys, but I don't think that is what everyone is clamoring for when they say, hey, give me like a team event. I think, what is it even called? Is it even called the QBE shootout anymore? I don't know what it's called, but like this would be cool if we had like the top 40 men and the top 40 women paired up and we played it out that way.
Totally agree. I mean, the reality of the situation is this is a really top heavy event. When's the last time that we've had a favorite be 3-1? It's got to be Rahm in Mexico last year, I would think.
Yeah, he was 3.5 to 1. So I think last year, I don't think Xander and Cantlay were the favorites. I think Morikawa and Victor were. And
Xander and Cantlay were 8 to 1.
Okay, I think that Victor and Colin were like 5 to 1.
Yeah,
something like that.
So there's always, as you semi already alluded to, it drops off pretty quickly at the top. So there are a couple really strong pairings of like great players on both sides, and then it gets dicey pretty quickly.
There is some level of luck to this, right? The example I've been giving all week is if Patrick Cantlay and Xander Schauffele each make 5 birdies in the best ball format, you want them to be on 10 different holes as opposed to all being on the same 5 holes. It's the classic ham and egging around this golf course where there is an element to luck there, but if these top end guys give themselves enough opportunities, they usually kind of break through.
Yeah, and this golf course, I talked about it in the preview that I wrote. It's such a standard PGA Tour course, right? Like this is it's a very flat golf course. There's not a ton of undulation to these greens. There's 8 or 9 TPC courses on the PGA Tour, and this reminds me a lot of TPC Craig Ranch and TPC Twin Cities, and you do have to be comfortable going low and in easy scoring conditions. And I struggle a lot still with Thursday and Saturday of this event. I find myself dozing off watching best ball. Alternate shots fun on this golf course though.
Mm-hmm.
It's a golf course basically in a swamp. There is some water in play. Every time you get Pete Dye, there always is an element of some visual intimidation off the tee. So it's a fun golf course, but like headline for me would be you have to find 2 guys that are really comfortable going low.
Yeah, and alternate shot in general is pretty compelling because there's no place to hide, right? It's just like you've got to play from where your partner left you. There is a lot of trust. There is a lot of experience that goes a long way. Alternate shot is a great format that they should play it all 4 days, honestly. Like just play all 4 days of alternate shot. I'd be thrilled.
Couldn't agree more. So let me ask you this question. Would you rather have an elite player and a relative unknown? I'll give you an example. Say the Fitzpatricks. Right. You have an elite player in Matt Fitzpatrick, and you have a relative unknown in his younger brother, Alex Fitzpatrick, who doesn't have much PGA Tour experience at all. Or would you rather have a team like you just mentioned, like a JJ Spawn and Hayden Buckley, who are both proven, solid, reliable PGA Tour players, but not even close to the caliber of a Matt Fitzpatrick?
I think I would prefer the Fitzpatricks.
Probably.
I think having an elite player goes a long way. And I think that the rapport goes a long way, right? I don't know how well JJ Spawn and Hayden Buckley know each other, right? I don't know how often they're ever playing together. I know the Fitzpatricks know each other's game to a T. They've competed against and with each other constantly for the last couple of decades. And realistically, like Alex doesn't have, I'll pull up his stat profile. He doesn't have status anywhere, but like the strokes gain stuff that we have gotten on him from the European Tour over the past couple, like it's pretty solid. He was a very good 4-year player at Wake Forest. Like, what if you had to rank this field in terms of the best players, and we say, okay, Cantlay's the best player in the field, Xander's the second best player in the field, whatever. Where does Alex Fitzpatrick probably rank in this field?
Well, so there's 160 players, right? Because there's 80 teams. He's probably 100 plus, but not in the bottom 30. He's probably around 100 for me, because I just, like, for example, like I roll through it and it's like, in this event, if it was an individual stroke play event, are you taking Adam Hadwin or Alex Fitzpatrick?
Yeah, okay. That's an interesting way to look at it.
You start kind of going down the line and it's like, okay, are you taking Tom Hoge or Alex Fitzpatrick?
Yeah.
Are you taking Robbie Shelton or Alex Fitzpatrick? Are you taking Taylor Moore, Thomas Dietrich, Davis Riley, Nick Hardy, Will Gort? Like you start going down the line, and like there are a lot of guys that finish top 40 on the PGA Tour every single week, pretty much. With a couple top 10s mixed in too. And I still probably trust them a little bit more, but I do agree with you that like a Fitzpatrick tandem is probably more dangerous than two guys that finish top 40 every week and are like 75th in the FedEx Cup standings and just like randomly texted each other to be partners this week.
Yeah, and I'm especially in the outright market, right? I don't care if two guys who finish 40 every week finish 31st here. Like I don't,
right?
Like that's nothing, right? I'd rather at least have the upside of a little bit of win equity. Here is the odds board. This is Odds Checker, so you can compare across the industry, which these have matured a little bit, but some of the numbers have been all over the yard for this week. So if you have an opportunity to shop, shopping is definitely in your favor this week more than others, Andy.
Yeah, and you look at the top, and you know, Xander, Cantlay, like I mentioned, were 8-1 last year. That number has been more than cut in half. Do they have the best chance to win this tournament? I would say unequivocally yes. Both are coming off incredibly strong finishes at the RBC Heritage. I just don't think that, I mean, that's a massive bet for me if I'm betting these guys at 3-1. I think that there's more value on teams a little bit behind them, right? Like I'm looking at Sung J.M. and Keith Mitchell mainly because I've just been riding Sung J.M. for a very long time, and I actually think he's really close. And then you have Burns and Horschel, who are at better odds this year than they have been in the past, despite contending at this tournament every year. I guess the only concern of why their odds are a little bit better is because Horschel's just been all over the map, huh?
Horschel's been very bad in 2023. So as you mentioned, those teams that are sub 20-1, it's Cantlay and Xander at 3-1. It is Morikawa and Homa 9-1. Sung Jae and Keith Mitchell 13. Siwoo Kim, Tom Kim at 15, and then Billy Horschel and Sam Burns at 18-1. I'll pull up Billy Horschel's stat profile here, and this is kind of the other question, because there's a lot of situations like this where you have one golfer who you're pretty comfortable with and pretty confident with, and one guy who has been like literally, this is like some of the worst form of Billy Horschel's career. Now that's a testament to him because he's had such a great career, but since the start of 2023, he's been horrible.
Objectively awful. And I think you kind of say to yourself, okay, is Billy just lost right now? There were murmurs. He talked about, I think this was around API time. He talked about going home, and I think he withdrew from one tournament that he was originally scheduled to play to put in more work with his coach. So there is this added element of, it's not just the numbers say that he's lost. Like, he's talked about the fact that he needs to work on his swing, which that's kind of the big red flag. With that being said, there are courses that Billy seems to perform on year after year, whether it be Austin Country Club. This course he has won as an individual too. So it's not just that he's been awesome with Sam. I think he's actually won both. He's won this event as a team with Scott Piercy, and he's won it as an individual too. I think he's the only guy to do that.
He is. The only other guy who has won it twice as a team is Cam
Kisner?
Smith.
Oh,
No,
that's right. Yeah.
Smith won it with Jonas Blixt, and he won it with Mark Leishman. But Billy Horschel was the only guy who has won it as an individual and as a member of the team. So yeah, TPC Louisiana is generally a pretty good spot for him.
Yeah, and Sam Burns, you don't worry about him. He's got the Louisiana LSU connection. He's obviously in great form coming off the win at the match play, which is, you know, this is not match play format, but there are elements of what you have to do in match play that you have to do in this format as well. So yeah, I feel, I would say my favorite two groupings are Billy and Burns and Sungjae and Keith. Sungjae and Keith, I just really love the way that Sungjae is playing golf right now. And Keith Mitchell is another guy that I've been high on all year and said from the beginning of the year, like Keith Mitchell is going to win this year. He is a top 5 driver of the ball on the PGA Tour. And this is a golf course where you can let loose with your driver. It's a driver heavy golf course. So I think if you don't want to pay up for the Xander Cantlay pairing, there is some more value in the 15 to 25 to 1 range.
Yeah, well, here's some more of those guys getting to 25 and a little bit past it. So it's Sahith and Justin Suh at 22 to 1, Kurt Kitayama and Taylor Montgomery at 25, Wyndham Clark, Bo Hostler at 28, JJ Spawn, Hayden Buckley are 33. The Canadians of Nick Taylor and Adam Hadwin are 34. The Fitzpatricks as long as 35, and I'll stop there. Like, I would much rather bet the Fitzpatricks at 35 than a lot of the other teams that are shorter than this.
Right. And again, like shop around, their numbers start to vary here a little bit more. Tom Hoagie was a guy that rated out really well for me. He tends to rate out really well in a lot of courses because his elite middle to short iron play. I still don't know where I'm at though with Harris English. Like he had the big injury. He's been showing some like small signs of life, but it's still been pretty hit or miss. So yeah, I think for me, like this is a range that I'm pretty lukewarm about.
There's some weird guys that play very well in these types of formats. Like we talked about Billy Horschel, like Billy Horschel in match play, Billy Horschel in the team, and like these like weird little formats. I mean, Harris English, I think with Matt Kuchar has won that QBE shootout a couple of times. Tom Hoagie just won it with Sahith.
Won it with Sahith. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, I don't know what it is. I can't quantify it. Maybe it is not as much pressure because you have a partner. Maybe I have zero idea, but there are some of these guys that every time you get one of these weird formats, they end up popping up, and like the two of them are playing together here.
Have we gotten to, because there is one that I want to talk about that jumped out to me in the stats. Have we gotten to Davis Riley and Nick Hardy? I know I bet them at 46 to 1.
Yeah, that one's a big all over the place. As short as 33, as long as 55. So here's the Davis Riley, Nick Hardy pairing.
Yeah, that one jumped out to me in the stats when I ran a model that I go a little bit more in depth in the Monday article. But those are two guys, Riley and Hardy, that both make a ton of birdies, generate a ton of opportunities for themselves. They both rate out highly in birdies or better, gained opportunities, gained, both really, really great iron players. I think of this middle tier, that would be the highest that I would go. You see those iron stats for Riley too, just coming off another strong performance at the RBC despite a missed cut. I think there's some value on that pairing, but like, I don't think I'm going too far behind that, because once you start getting past them, you're starting to talk about teams. I mean, Lipsky and Rye, I do like as well, but you're starting to talk about teams with like major black marks next to their names.
Yeah, and I mean, you can see how massive these discrepancies are, right? I mean, Thorbjorn Olesen and Nikolai Højgaard as short as 35, as long as 50. You've got Taylor Moore and Matthew Neesmith as short as 33, as long as 55. Perez and Dietrich as short as 28, as long as 55. I mean, this is the Lipsky Aaron Rye team as short as 40, as long as 70. So, I mean, the books have no idea what to do this week.
Yeah, clearly. I mean, it seems like they're taking a little bit of a backseat this week and letting people kind of throwing their hands up and letting people make their own decisions, which is good for us, right? We generally like weeks when it seems like we are more invested than the books, and DraftKings came out with pricing. It seems like they forgot for like hours, and then we're suddenly like, oh, all right, why not? We'll let people play this week as well. So yeah, it's one of those weeks where I think if you're willing to put a little bit of effort in, and there are resources out there. We're doing a show. I did an article, doing another article tonight too for tomorrow on DraftKings specific. Like, you can definitely find some opportunities if you're willing to do the legwork. And I don't like how I did run a model just for the sake of it, of including it in the article, and because I do every week. Like, I do think that you can be more feel based this week, though. Wouldn't you say?
Yes, we might want to clip this because I'll never really say it, but just you can throw the stats out the window, right?
Yeah.
I mean, right. I think that there are a couple of things you mentioned them, like birdies are better, opportunities gained. I like to use weighted strokes gained because you have a lot of guys who are playing on different tours, whether it's the Corn Ferry, the European, the senior tour, right? So you've got to like account for all that. So those would be the things that I would truly rely on, but that is secondary to, do these guys trust each other? Are they going to get along for 4 days? Do they know each other's game? Are they going to work together strategically? I keep coming back to that Fitzpatrick group. Is there a team with a better rapport and a more strategic team out there? And also a team that still, like, coming off the win, has a ton to play for. If they win this, Alex Fitzpatrick is immediately a PGA Tour member for the next 2 years, going from zero status anywhere.
And I think like he's in the Players, he's in the PGA Championship. Like he gets a lot of, it's a life-changing win for him. Yeah.
This is what Brooks Koepka tried to drag along Chase Koepka to, but Alex Fitzpatrick's way better than Chase Koepka is.
Yeah.
And Matt Fitzpatrick's like I keep coming back to that team.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. And I think like they have the unquantifiable factor of the team chemistry. They care more because some of these teams, you look at some of these teams and like, okay, we know Xander and Cantlay are really tight. We know that Morikawa and Homa are really tight. They have the Cal connection, but some of these teams, it feels like they just decided to text each other through a friend of a friend of a friend at the very last minute.
Their agents got them together like 5 days ago and they've never talked to one another, right? Like that is how like half of these teams have gotten together and they're learning each other right now. Like that's a real thing. I will say this, as I was just kind of scrolling through just these weird little fun facts. The Ryan Palmer, Scott Piercy team, I'm not going to be betting them, but I did want to point out they are the only other team outside of Xander and Cantlay that both of these they've won this event. Piercy won it with Billy Horschel. Palmer won it with John Rahm. They are as short of 66 as long as 110. I'm not going to bet it, but I saw those two were playing together and I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. Honestly, kind of a letdown for Ryan Palmer. What Scotty Scheffler didn't pick up this year. Like
tough.
He's gone from having Rahm and some of the best players in the world, Spieth, every year, to dragging along Scott Piercy. But, listen, Scott Piercy, as you mentioned, has some great course history as well. So, yeah, that's another one of the teams. Like, once you start getting into that territory, it's like I'm less confident in them in the outright market, but I still think they can make some noise.
Okay, we are going to continue this conversation. The matchups are we're going to skip the matchups. The props aren't out yet. I do want to talk a little bit about one and done and maybe some best ways to tackle that. But first, we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from Andy's podcast.
Andy Lack is one of the nerdiest golf guys that I know, and I mean that as an absolute compliment. His knowledge of course architecture allows him to create some of the most actionable course previews available, and he offers up pure expertise on his own podcast, the Inside Golf Podcast. Twice a week, he offers course breakdowns, DFS, and betting strategy for every PGA Tour event, and he expands the universe by bringing on entertaining and knowledgeable guests who can offer a different viewpoint of the game that we love. Follow Inside Golf Pod on Twitter and download Inside Golf wherever you download podcasts.
All right, we are back, and I want to talk one and done, but before we do, Andy, like we have to set the stage here. Your one and done either is off. You might not have a one and done selection to make. You might have to choose one golfer, but you get access to both him and his partner, or you might have to burn both golfers. So my initial warning is know your rules.
Yeah, I'm in one league where you can basically just use golfers that you've already used before just for this event, which is interesting to me because I feel like everybody's just going to pick Xander and Cantlay in that one. So I almost think the strategy is like just pick like the second or third team on the odds board and you'll have a ton of leverage if there's a possibility that Xander and Cantlay don't win this event. But I think most leagues are taking it off. I mean, what do you want to do for us?
I mean, we could go chaotic and say you have to burn both, but
yeah,
we could say you burn both, get both. So you burn both guys, but you get both shares of their earnings.
Love that. Let's do that.
Okay. So I'm looking at the list, and while I have to figure this out, just for last week, we an elevated. We've played. Okay. We have the last 2 weeks. We have combined in $38 million of purses. We have earned combined $95,000. I had Tom Kim. He missed the cut. Victor Hovland got you 44,800. The week before, I got 50,000 from DJ. You missed the cut with Rory McIlroy. So that's $38 million that we got like 0.00001% of.
So sick. Yeah, I'm rolling at like a 50% made cut rate in our one and done. Like I've picked 7 of 14 made cuts in our one and done. And in my other leagues, I'm at like 10, 11, 12, 13. So these selections, have not been, has not produced my strongest results, be it that may. I'm going to keep chugging along. I guess I'll give you the floor first. Darn. Some of these guys.
I'm looking through and I'm like, who can I even use? I could use Xander and Cantlay, but I do not think I want to do that. I cannot use Morikawa and Homa. I cannot use Sungjae and Keith Mitchell. I cannot use Siwoo and Tom Kim. Could I use Burns and Horschel? I could. Do I want to do that? Or do I want to?
That's what I was thinking as like a semi-aggressive move.
I think I want to, boy, I might regret this. Give me, God, this is brutal. I don't really love the Burns Billy Horschel thing. I'll take, this is a punt. I'll take Bo Hostler, Wyndham Clark.
I like Wyndham Clark at this golf course a lot. I will say that.
He's been phenomenal. He's been great.
Yeah.
He's been great. They've played this event a lot, not together, but they've played it. So they're 25-1. I'll burn both of those and not feel bad about it.
I think I am going to go Burns Billy.
Yeah, I think you should.
As a chaser's role, haven't used either of them. We're already halfway through the season and I still have players. I mean, there's not, I guess Burns at like Colonial and Billy at Sedgefield are thoughts that immediately come to my mind, but I feel like I have enough big name players still where I'm not going to be absolutely itching to need to use Burns or Horschel. And I think they're like a really, really, really safe bet to finish like top 7, which is really what I need right now. I need to just keep chipping away and then take my big swings on the majors. So Burns and Horschel, let's fire it up.
If you are in a one and done in which you only have to burn one of them, I suppose like Keith Mitchell should be your target because you'd get him and Sungjae. They have the third best odds and you are probably not using Keith Mitchell anywhere else.
Right. And I think that's a good chasing. Like if you like your position, if you're comfortably in the money, if you're in the top 50 or top 100 of any contest that you're in, you just roll out Xander and Cantlay.
What's the purse?
Not much. I would assume the winners get
They get like I think they each get like 1 million or something like that,
well
don't
over
they?
a million. Yeah. I know it's 400 FedEx Cup points. I don't know how correlated that is, but I would assume that correlates a little bit with a lower purse than we're used to seeing.
They're going to get, it all depends on your rules, right? You're going to get $1.2 million each. So if you're burning one and your upside for Patrick Cantlay and Xander Schauffele is only 1.2 million, that doesn't feel like enough.
Yeah. And so the way that we're doing it is we burn both, but we get both their money.
Correct.
So that is a decent chunk of change for us.
Yeah, maybe I should have actually just picked them.
Yeah, that's not bad, because if you hit the winner, you're getting over 2 million.
So I think if you're playing in a one and done where you burn one, get the partner, but only get their share, then you play either Mitchell or Billy Horschel.
Right. I would agree with that. That is more sensible. So yeah, I guess moral of the story, pay attention to format this week or enjoy your week off.
Yes. Either do nothing or go find out what your rules are.
Would
probably be the best. All right. We will be back next week for the Mexico Open. And then we are running right back into some big events after that. So it should be an absolute blast. Big thanks to producer Mina. She does all the hard work behind the scenes. Andy Lack, available on Twitter at ATP Lack Sports. And you can find me at RickRunGood. This has been your betting preview for this week's Zurich Classic. Good luck.